Hi everyone, Sommer. I am here today to talk to you about Project Physical ID using the Ambassador Network in real life. I'm going to start off by telling you a little story. So I had this idea that I would sail my children to the Caribbean, and I had done some research on Virgin Islands. Brian had taken me there in 2012, and I learned how to scuba dive and visited both St. John and St. Thomas, and basically fell in love with the Caribbean. So I had done some research, and I found out that the local library on St. John was only being open 3 days a week, and somebody from St. Thomas was taking a ferry over 3 times a week and opening up the library, and then they were going back to their island. So they haven't had a permanent person there at the library on St. John for a really long time. So I thought it would be a really cool idea to take my children there and run the library as a collaborative workspace / community center where we could educate the islands on cryptocurrencies. And I contacted Ingrid A. Bow. She's the woman that's territorial director of libraries, archives, and museums. And I believe she lives on St. Croix, which is the larger island south of St. Thomas and St. John. So I told her about our family and our travels and how we live an alternative lifestyle. And I offered my services, and in exchange, I asked for no pay. I told her that I didn't want to be paid by taxing the people of the island. She responded by sending me a list of requirements and so the minimum requirements for being a librarian are having a Master of Science in Library degree. So I realized at that moment that I would have to go about this a different way. Since my communication with her, the library has been closed until further notice. So now it's not open at all. Nobody's coming from the other island to open the library. And libraries are important for small communities. St. John is only a 7 miles long island, so it's really tiny. So things like libraries are important. So one of the most common questions I hear about BitNation is, does the physical ID work? And the answer is yes, it works. There are examples of people using it. It's mentioned in the BitNation FAQ. You frequently asked questions. You can go check it out. I had meant to get in touch with and who was. I'm actually not sure. I really like to know that information so that people about it. And let me see, right? So there are examples of people using it successfully. And also, I have a personal friend, who crossed back into the US last winter without any documentation at all. And there's also a group on Facebook called Nomads, a Life of Moneyless Travel or something like that. It has a lot of members. And people are really interested in this topic as well there, because they hitchhike a lot in that group, and they are constantly wondering, if I cross this border, what kind of documentation do I need, and what is the fee to cross this border, etc. So I like to ask people, have you tried it? Have you tried crossing an arbitrary line with or without permission, with alternative documents or no documents? I highly encourage the young single people to do this en masse. Whether on a plane, train, car, bus, RV, or sailboat. Maybe you can get your hands on an old submarine or cargo ship. There are ultralight dinghies in existence. They fly and they land. individuals. There's no need to wait for any large group of people, organization, or business to create this for you. You can go and do it. If you studying community, an impromptu camping experience where people can meet freely for a period of time. You can, I'm sorry. Soon, okay, so soon it will be able to travel from one of these communities to the. Just a matter of putting it together. Offering an exchange like volunteer service can get you into an event via admission fee. So if you're living to use very little fiat currencies, it's already possible in today's society to do so by traveling from event to event. So creating our own free without waiting any more time. All right, a little bit about us. So we have chosen not to give our children government documents. We have a boy and we have a girl, and both of them were born in hospitals. We travel promoting undocumented human. We believe individuals' choice what government services they will need within their lives. So just because they're randomly born in a claimed jurisdiction on Earth doesn't mean they should be forced into the rules and regulations and fees that come with that jurisdiction. Existence is random, and declaring your independence does not require a government form. My research has shown me that most government websites have information for people traveling with certain citizenships. Certain paperwork is required for these citizenships. I've also found that many of these government websites mention travel documents. They are never clear on what they are. So the UN has a definition of a stateless person on their website. And a stateless person is held to all laws and freedoms of whichever jurisdiction he or she currently exists within. So any country that's part of the UN has agreed to these terms. So stateless people have the same freedom to travel. That being said, there are many forms you can create to prove identity. Affidavits, pictures, videos, on up. They can be documented on paper or digitally on flash drives. And they can be handed to people at appropriate times. There's no need for until we have a conversation. I believe that all interactions are voluntary until they're not. So it's up to us to create this change to allow for a more simpler transition through land and sea. I think that working with permission or negotiation, and in some cases without permission, is imperative for the future and the freedom to travel. We are all just living here on Earth at the same time as each other. None of us have the right to restrict another human movement. I'd like to promote the idea for each and every one of us to have the conversation the next time we travel. Our plan is to find a sailboat, document it on the blockchain, put a vinyl QR code to info documentation, and to have alternative documentation for us and our children. We plan to travel with little FRNs or none, and we plan to mostly work trade for things or need to do whatever we can to spread these ideas and solutions globally. If our boat becomes a traveling way to the ISA library as a collaborative workspace / community center, maybe even a relief center for disaster-stricken areas. Being able to educate at a time about Pangea might just put humans in a better situation for when Mother Nature comes. I'd like to work with BitNation and the Ambassador Program to further these ideas, including offering technology that will distribute Pangea on a solar-powered device to offer communication disaster relief. I wish we were there now with all of the people affected by the hurricanes. Offering them a way to communicate that does not require waiting in a government line will allow them to rebuild and connect much more efficiently. I hope that you can find a way to make your life. I hope that I have given you some ideas on how to do so. I hope that you can share with me your experiences when they arrive, because it's you who inspires me to continue on this journey.